Hello and welcome to Hump Hangouts. This is episode 507 on the 31st of July, 2024. And yeah, like we're live to Hump Hangouts. Adam is still in Europe traveling, so he will not be live with us today. But I'm here and I actually met Adam today. So basically, nice greetings from him. And we also have Bradley Benner here, as usual. Um, Welcome, Bradley.
So when you say you met Adam today, did you see him in person?
Yeah, we met up, we
No
had lunch.
shit. I didn't
Yeah,
know that,
man.
man. I thought you
Uh,
just had a meeting with him today. I didn't know you met him in person today. That's awesome.
no, no. Full on in person, as usual.
Very cool.
It was good. It was quite hot here, as it is during summer in Europe. But like, and he was only here for 1 day, so brief visit, but like, it was quite cool.
Very cool. That's awesome, man. I'm glad you got a chance to.
Definitely. Did we have the link set up?
Yeah, it should be now. I just finished it.
Perfect. Excellent. So
All
let's
right.
jump straight into announcements today, I would say.
Yeah.
So, first thing I think we're accepting new applicants for DHA Academy, is that right?
Yeah, we're going to be relaunching, or the phase one of the DHA program starts again on, I believe, August 19th, I think is the official start date for that. So about 3 weeks or so, 3 weeks from this upcoming Monday, or something like that. Anyway, somewhere around there. Let me check the actual date. For God's sake, give me 1 minute. Um,
All good, all good.
yeah, Monday, August 19th. That's when I think we're going to start
Perfect.
it again. So right now we have the survey that we've sent out before, guys, that will allow you to sign up or just submit this. If you're remotely interested in it, just complete the survey. And then what I'll do is reach out to schedule an interview. If you there's basically an application process. You pay $100 to put down as a deposit to get on in a one-on-one interview with me, because I interview everybody before bringing them into the program to make sure it's a good fit. That's it. It's no hard sales pitch, none of that. It's just we're gonna have a chat, determine if it's a good fit, make sure that it's appropriate for you. You have the budget for it, the time to be able to commit to it, all that kind of stuff. And if you decide not to join or it's not a good fit, then we'll refund the $100. If you don't show up to the scheduled interview or call with me, then you lose the $100, because I can't stand it when people schedule a goddamn interview and they don't show up, or excuse me, an appointment and they don't show up. But if you do end up joining, then we will deduct that $100 from the tuition fee. But that's, again, we've got a survey for that. If you're remotely interested in it, just complete it. We'll reach out, give you the option and the opportunity to schedule a meeting with me, or we'll have a quick chat about it. And that's it. It's no hard sales pitch, none of that. We'll give you the information. If it sounds like it's a good fit, it's relevant to your business, which anybody that is doing local SEO services, I think it's relevant for. And like I said, just submit the survey and we'll send you more information.
Yeah, it's quite a tight circle, and like the first iteration was actually quite a success story. I think like 80% or so, like had like a pretty good success rate on there. So quite happy about that. The other thing, if you're not ready to join DHA and stuff, so like it's not for everyone, or like in case like it's barely declined you or something like that, I highly recommend you join the mastermind, because that's also one of the ways how you can actually take your agency and get it to the next level. Highly recommend it. We got a nice special quarterly deal on the mastermind as well here, and I'm posting the link right now in chat. So that's also right there already. Any other announcements that we gotta drop here today?
Not that I'm aware of, except that just keep in mind that, guys, that the DHA program training is all available to the mastermind members, regardless of whether you're in the additional coaching program or not. The additional coaching is only for those that need the handholding and the accountability, which a lot of people need that. I mean, admittedly, I need it myself. That's part of the reason why I publicly announce stuff, because it forces me to be accountable to you guys, which is, again, I think accountability goes a long way. It's easy to disappoint ourselves, right? But it's much harder to disappoint others. And so being a part of an accountability group helps you to make progress, keeps you making progress, because you are accountable to others and the other group members as well as to me. Which is why, again, like I said, I publicly announce things that when I know that I'm likely going to procrastinate or drop the ball on something, just not complete it or just not do it, then I publicly announce, like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, so that it forces me to do it, so that I have some integrity or maintain my integrity, I should say. But yeah, I definitely recommend, guys, if you know, if you are if you're ambitious and you can self-direct and self-manage your time, and stay focused long enough to see some results, then I would recommend that, you know, just join the mastermind. You can get all the DHA program training available to you in SOP format. So if you can work your way through that on your own, then you're fine. That's fine. You can ask questions in the mastermind just about the DHA program and the SOPs. I got no problem answering stuff like that. It's just some people need the additional coaching, and there's daily office hours, which allows me to do like support, like it's specific support on a daily basis for anybody that needs it, Monday through Friday. We have weekly accountability meetings, and then 2 or 3 private accountability meetings or one-on-one consultations with me throughout that 12-week processing, so that I can help you address and correct or fix any specific support issues related to your business. And so it's very intensive. There's a lot of additional training and additional coaching, a lot of additional time directly from me, but it's very, very thorough. And so those of you that need that additional accountability and handholding and support, that's what the additional coaching program is for. Those of you that don't need it and are self-serving, you can do that through the mastermind just by joining and getting all the SOPs. So either way, it's 6 in one, half dozen in the other, whatever's most appropriate for you.
Yeah, it's still also another thing, like if you're right there with Bradley in the trenches, or if you're just going through the SOP.
Yeah. It's Cecilia, I'm glad you're back, man. Cecilia was MIA for a few days, and it had me and Harry worried, and probably some other group members as well. But I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're here and chatting, and thank you for the endorsement. Cecilia's been part of the DHA program since the original Alpha group, and she was in this first phase 1 group. And anybody that's ever joined any of the DHA program beta groups or else or otherwise will have access to the groups going forward too. So it's not like you get, you know, as long as you're a mastermind member, you will retain access to those groups. Just so you guys are clear about that. If you leave the mastermind, you lose access to the groups. You can take the training and all that with you because it's all in SOP format. But the ongoing support is the mastermind group, just to be clear.
Yeah, and the SOP is also updated within the mastermind, whereas like if you just take it off with you,
that's right.
It's up to you to update all those things.
That's right.
Cool.
All right. Well, if that's it, we've got a ton of questions to get into. And similar to last week, we had a few questions that I was unable to get to last week, so I highlighted them for today. And the first question is a great question that's going to require some, well, it doesn't require it, but I decided to do some additional training or prepare some training for this today. So just like last week, I went on kind of a training tangent, and I spent 30 or 45 minutes preparing for one question in the master or the Hump Day Hangout. I did that today. I just spent about 20 minutes preparing for this one because I think this is important. I mean, typically we just come on and answer questions, but I feel like this topic and category optimization process that I've been describing a lot over the last 2 years really has become so critically important for local SEO that I'm just going to keep training on this on a weekly basis when people have questions about it, because I think it's that important for you guys to get away from optimizing for keywords and start optimizing the much more efficient way, which is for topics and categories. So when I see these types of questions, I'm going to be more thorough in my description or explanation of how to do it, so that hope to God that this shit sets in for some of you guys, because I'm still seeing all the time audits and requests to look at projects, et cetera, that are just, it's like 2024 optimization, or excuse me, 2020 optimization. It's 2024. Stop it. Like, Doc, it hurts when I do this. Well, don't do that. You know what I mean? So like, if you're not getting the performance that you should expect out of your projects, stop optimizing like he did 4 years ago. Like, it's that simple. So let me show you guys what I'm talking about. Chris, like I said, dude, I know you got some things you got to handle. So if you got to go ahead and jump, dude. I'll take care of today.
We'll be on it off. Cheers.
All right, guys. So I'm going to answer jump into these questions, and I hope everybody's okay with me doing a little bit of training before just getting into the rest of the questions. And hopefully we can get through all these today. We do have one land flipping question, so we'll save that one for last. By the way, just so everybody knows, I love the land flipping questions. I thought that was an amazing business. Only reason I got out of that business was because it was taking SEO businesses, and I had an internal dilemma about it. But anyways, I love the land flipping questions. But those of you that are SEOs that have no interest or desire to learn any of that, that's fine. I'll save that question for last. We're going to jump right into this, guys. And what's everybody? I see a couple other in the chat, but I'll pull up chat later. All right, so this is the first question is from Todd. It's a great question. He says, "Hey, Bradley, you've gone over your questions in your topical map, or excuse me, you have gone over your keyword and topical map strategy for tree services many times, but can you spend a few minutes describing your process to identify keywords in a topical map for a fencing company? Thanks. And Cecilia, this one ought to be good for you too, right? I'm sure you've already done this, but so I'm going to go through some training, guys, about this specifically and kind of demonstrate what I would do. And I've prepared this ahead of time, but I'll go through the process to kind of explain how I learning. And just so you guys know, I do this sort of research and analysis all the time now for audits, any audit customers of mine. I go through this process every time. So it's really been enlightening for me because I get to do topic and category research across multiple industries. If it wasn't for link building clients coming to me or mastermind members and asking me to do this for them, like by purchasing consulting time or an audit for me, I probably wouldn't do all this, right? Because like I said, I've done it in the tree service industry and I would probably just stick in that industry. But this, when I get audit requests or consultation requests for this kind of stuff, then it forces me to implement this type of a method into different industries so that I can, and it's just made me better at being able to teach for this, if that makes sense. So I don't mind doing these, guys. I really don't. If somebody's looking for specific recommendations on how to structure a particular site, it's going to require an audit or consulting time. But if somebody just has a question on like how to do the research so that you can begin building your sites this way, I don't mind covering it on like Hump Day Hangouts. All right. So as long as it doesn't get abused, right? All right, so here's the question. Again, he was asking about for a fencing contractor, guys. So I'm going to open up Firefox. So we get to Google, and we're just going to start there. I wonder, it always does. It's the first time it's white, and then I refresh it, it goes black. I don't know why it does that. It's so weird. All right, so here's where I would start. As a fence contractor, or a fencing company, a fence company, right? The first thing I would do is go to Google, and I would search for, fence company or fencing or whatever that you would think is the appropriate keyword to search for. And you could search for like near me, or you can add a location modifier. I'm currently in Auburn, Pennsylvania. And last week I made a complete ass out of myself because I was trying to do some training on topic and category research. And I was showing the location entity in Auburn, Pennsylvania is in this county that I had a really hard time. I'm terrible at pronouncing names unless I see the phonetic spelling. And anyways, I made an ass out of myself because I really butchered this name. But I found out there's a county fair going on in this county right now, and it's all week long, and I've gone for the last 2 nights, and I had to ask one of the locals, how do you say this county name? And they told me, and so I completely butchered it last week, but it's Schuylkill County, and I didn't realize there was phonetic spelling right there when I was saying, I don't know how you say it, Schuylkill or what. Anyway, Schuylkill County is how they say that. I just wanted to correct myself from last week. Anyway, so for today's question, fence company, Auburn, Pennsylvania. What I'm going to do is just click into maps. And I want to see basically what is the top level Google business category for most of the majority of the contractors. And you can see it's fence contractor. Okay. Well, how did fence contractor, that category, that's the top level Google business category, but on an entity basis, that category was created from fence and contractor. Duh, fence contractor, right? So I always start with Wikipedia or Google search, but then with Wikipedia appended to the search to identify the entities, the Wikipedia entries that are the most relevant to the search queries according to Google. Not Wikipedia, but according to Google. That's what I want to understand so that I can optimize for Google and how Google understands those topics. Right? Does that make sense? So I'm going to come here and I'm going to look for fence, Wikipedia. All right. And here's the thing, guys. I want you to understand. Fence is a structure that encloses an area, typically outdoors, and is usually constructed from posts that are connected by boards, wires, rails, or netting. Right? So a fence is a structure that encloses an area. Fencing, on the other hand, is a combat sport. So fencing is a combat sport that features sword fighting. So now there's a reason why I'm making this distinction here, because the way that words are combined to create a topic is it can change the meaning. So in other words, if you just reference fencing alone, then that is a combat sport. A fence is a structure that encloses an area. However, when you have fencing combined with other words, depending on the combination, it changes the meaning of fencing itself from a combat sport that involves swords to a type of fence instead. So what do I mean by that? And why is that important? Because it's important to understand how Google understands our language, especially when we're optimizing for it, right? And so as you can see, when fencing is combined with another word, depending on what that other word is, the context of that combined phrase can change the meaning of fencing from a combat sport that involves swords to a structure that encloses an area. Do you understand? And so, for example, agricultural fencing, that doesn't mean, cows that are sword fighting. You understand? Agricultural fencing means a fence around, a structure that encloses an agricultural area. So I just want to be clear about kind of the context in which words are used makes a difference in their meaning in some cases, which is what I will demonstrate throughout this training today, because a fence contractor is actually, again, this is another example of that. And I've shared this many, many times before, but if we look up contractor Wikipedia, contractor has multiple meanings depending on which context it is used. So again, fencing can actually have multiple. Fencing itself doesn't have multiple meanings. Fencing itself, as a standalone entity, is a combat sport that it features sword fighting. But when you combine fencing with another word, it changes the meaning depending on that phrase itself. And in this case, like again, agricultural fencing doesn't mean, barnyard animals fighting with swords. It means agricultural enclosure that encloses an agricultural area. So in this case, though, contractor has multiple meanings depending on which context is used. And this is basically a disambiguation page or whatever. The context in which we would be using it as a fence contractor would be general contractor. And so general contractor even states directly in that first paragraph, it says a contractor, North American English, or builder in British English, is responsible for the day-to-day oversight of a construction site, management of vendors and trades, and the communication of information to all involved parties, throughout the course of a building project. So essentially what fence contractor is, guys, is fence and contractor, but the context in which it is used means general contractor. So it's really fence and general contractor combined to create fence contractor. Hopefully you guys understand that. Okay, so that's the starting point. That's the top level Google business category. And we know that because we can determine that by just doing a quick search for a fence company and seeing what the Google business category is. Okay, so we've got number one, top level category. The next is to figure out what the top level topic term is. Now, I don't know for sure what the top level topic term is. I'm not in this industry, but I'm going to give you my two assumptions, my two best guesses at what the top level topic term is. And then you can go do some additional research on your own and determine what is the most appropriate topic term. Okay, because I always talk about optimizing for topics and categories, the category being the Google business categories, and the topics being the top level terms that have the broadest keyword coverage for that particular industry. In the tree service industry, it is tree maintenance by far. It's not even close. Tree maintenance has more keyword coverage than any other keyword phrase in the tree service industry. And I've demonstrated this many times before, but I'll pull it up again. If we look up topics and entities, and I know in the roofing industry, it's the same thing. Roof maintenance has a much broader keyword coverage than any other search query associated with the roofing industry. And so here's an example of this, guys. Let me expand this out a little bit. So what I'm talking about, and I'll demonstrate this in just a minute because I'm going to show you guys why I say this. But if you combine, you create a top level topic term and then go search for it in Google and look for the bolded words in the meta descriptions of the search results. And what you want to look for are synonyms that Google has considered are synonymous with the top level seed search query. Okay. And so in the tree service industry, even though the top level category is tree service, it has fairly limited coverage as far as what Google considers as synonymous with that term. But tree maintenance has significantly more keyword coverage. And so the top level category term in the tree service business is tree service, and the top level topic term is tree maintenance. And I've demonstrated this before, but I can't assume that everybody's seen this, but I want to explain something, guys. If we look up repairs, Wikipedia, just as an example, Repairs is a Wikipedia page that then only redirects to maintenance. So I use the example, I see roofing contractors that have roof replacement, roof repair, roof installation, roof cleaning, roof inspection, and they have all these different pages, which is fine for individual service pages. But then I see them take city 1, city 2, city 3, and they'll do roof repair city 1, roof replacement city 1, roof installation city 1, roof inspection city 1, roof cleaning city 1. So they got 5, 6, 7 pages for every city when it's absolutely unnecessary when you optimize for roofing contractor, which is the top level category term, and then roof maintenance as the top level topic term. So you optimize location pages for roofing contractor and roof maintenance plus city and state, and then brand. And if you have that done properly, then you can rank the location page for every single one of those search queries without having multiple location pages. It's not needed. It's only need one page and then internal links that link to those individual service pages. Like I said, you can have a service page for roof cleaning, roof inspection, roof installation, roof repair. That's fine. But the location page should be optimized one location page for the location, but then the top level topic and category term in the SEO title and the H1. That's where it's most important. You can interchange them. If you want roofing contractor or roofing contractor in the SEO title, then you can put roof maintenance in the H1 or vice versa. And it will rank as long as the internal linking is done properly to the service pages, it will rank for every single one of those search queries. You don't need 5, 6, 7 pages per location, which is what I see in the roofing industry all the time. I even have link building clients that just will not even attempt what I'm trying to teach them about this kind of stuff. And so they quit because they've got location pages that are redundant and duplicated and that sometimes don't even index. And then they, well, your links aren't producing a result. Get rid of the over optimization and the redundancy on the site and it will rank. Anyways, my point that I'm trying to make, guys, is the repairs equals maintenance. This is telling us this. This is how Google understands it too, by the way. But maintenance equals functional checks, which means inspection, servicing, repairing, or replacing of all this other stuff, right? It's a very broad term. And so tree service is actually tree and service economics combined. To service in the context it's used means economics. It's two separate entities combined to create tree service. Well, tree maintenance is the same thing. It's tree and maintenance combined, but maintenance has a much broader coverage than repairs does or installation does. You understand that essentially maintenance includes inspection, servicing, repairing, replacing, installing, all of that. So maintenance is the top level topic term that can be combined with tree, or in this case, maybe fence maintenance, possibly for the example question, the initial question. And so I'm only pointing this out, guys, because I think it's important for you to understand how I came to these conclusions. And that's why I always try to demonstrate what I with Wikipedia entities as to how I come to these conclusions. So back to the original question. We understand fence contractor now. I've already explained how to get to that, how Google created that category from two separate entities, right? So the topic term then, my assumption would be fence maintenance, but I'm not in the fence industry. So I don't know if that's the best level term. So the alternative might be fence service. Because again, as I showed you before, it's the same Wikipedia entity for fence, but service is very much like contractor in that it has multiple meanings depending on which context it is used. So in this particular example, if we're talking about a fencing contractor, that is going to be fence service, or if you combine two to create fence service, and maybe even fencing service, that might be relevant too. Again, I'm not in this industry. It would require some testing on your part, not my part. I'm not in this industry and I have no desire to build fence contractor sites. So I can give you the framework and then it's going to be up to you to test different configurations to see what performs best. But service in the context in which we would be talking about a fencing contractor or a fence company that does installs and repairs and maintains fences, it would be fence service economics because a service is an act or use for which a consumer, company, or government is willing to pay. So that means fence service means, willing to pay to have fence installed, replaced, repaired, etc. So my two assumptions would be the top level topic term would be either fence maintenance or fence service. So there's the Wikipedia entities to show you how I came to those conclusions. All right. Now, one thing again, just to kind of demonstrate, if I wanted to test to see which one has more broad topic coverage, it's very simple. Go to Google and search. right? We'll do fence maintenance to start with. And I want you guys to see that. Again, you can open up. I'm just going to do it in Excel because I don't want to have to keep jumping back and forth to Chrome where I have Drive open. But let me just give you an example here, guys. So what I would do here is I would type in, I could zoom in on this, but it makes it a little bit easier to see. I would take that search query right there, paste this in. And you could do this with Fence Contractor too, just to see. As a matter of fact, we might do that just for shits and giggles. So give me a minute. Let's search for that real quick. And we'll go back over to Google. We're going to search for fence service. I'll copy that. Put this in here as well. And again, just for kicks, we'll do a fence contractor one here. My guess is it's going to be either fence service though or fence maintenance. It's going to have the broadest coverage. We're going to cover that momentarily. Okay, so what I would do is open up a spreadsheet, Google Sheet or Excel, whatever, and I would put these columns. These are your seed keywords here, your seed queries. All right, go ahead and bold that. Now the rest of these are going to be the synonyms that are bolded in the search results and the meta descriptions, and that's how we can determine what has the most topic coverage. It's just a manual. I'm sure there are tools that do this, but I think it's important to do it manually because you become familiar with the Google search results, what stands out for me. And then I like looking at the Wikipedia entities, reading usually the first paragraph or two so that I can get an understanding of how Google understands that topic or that entity, right? Because this is how Google trains in large part. Its large language model was trained through Wikipedia. Okay, there are other databases too, but Wikipedia is one of the biggest influencers. In addition to that, you can also start looking at the page structure of the Wikipedia pages for the entities that are related to your industry to get an idea of the headings and subheadings that you should work into the structure of the pages that you're building for your site, for your project. In addition to that, you can also look at potential internal linking because Wikipedia is a master at internal linking. So you can get ideas for how to properly interlink between pages. In addition to that, you can also find, let's just go back here, for example, in the See Also section, down at the bottom, you can also find related topics and entities that can help you to have more broader coverage as well. So the point that I'm trying to make is, guys, you want to kind of identify the top level terms and then determine what, and play around with it. Sometimes you might have to just take a guess and then go see what has the best coverage, right? And try to create your own topics or categories out of combining Wikipedia topics or entities, if that makes sense. So for example, if we look at fence maintenance, and I'm just going to block that. And we're going to come down here and take a look at some of the words here, guys, that are relevant to this. We see fence. We see, sorry, let me move this down. My mouse wheel is a bit screwed up. So fence, maintenance right there. Well, that was in the keyword search query. So we're just going to keep looking, see what else. Fencing. So fencing right there is showing is that it seems a little bit odd. If I could go back to a white screen, it would probably actually be a little bit easier for me to determine. On this black screen, it doesn't stand out as much. So stand by right over here. And then we'll check for fence service too. Actually pull that up. And I could be wrong. It might not be fence maintenance this time. It might be fence service. We're going to find out in just a moment. So again, we're going to scroll through here and just look at the keywords that stand out. Fencing, fence, fences, maintenance, fence maintenance, obviously. And what I would do is just start collecting those words, the singular words and the phrases that are bolded. And it appears like this actually doesn't have near as much coverage as I would have thought. So let's go take a look. And that, again, all I would do, guys, is copy each one of those bolded words that are unique and put them underneath in this column here. Okay. Then for fence service, this might be the better term for this industry. So if we come down here, yeah, it probably is. And I can see it already. Okay, guys, this is why I'm saying, guys, you go through this process and you're going to discover things about your industry that you never knew. Okay, so fence service seems to be much broader just from the couple of results that I see here. So I see fence. What do I see? Installation, fences, fencing, fence services, so plural, fence installation. So there's installation and then fence installation. So the singular term plus the phrase in its entirety. I would keep scrolling through fence repair. That's interesting that bolds for fence service, but not under fence maintenance when repairs equals maintenance, right? Maintenance includes repairs. That's interesting. So see, just the combination of those two words and it changed kind of what Google thinks is relevant to that seed query. So it appears to me, what I would do, guys, again, is I would be collecting each one of those fence installation again, installation, services, singular term. It's a plural term, but I mean, it's a single word. Anyways, I would pull all of that stuff out and put that in this column. Okay. Then I'll go ahead and repeat that one more time for here. And this might even have the broadest coverage. I don't know. I've not done this analysis before, but fencing, installation, fence company this time is bolded, fence companies. So fence contractor might be the broadest. Again, I would go through this process and I would go through, 30, 50 results, something like that, pull out all of the bolded keywords that are relevant to each of those seed queries, plug them into here. By the time you're done with that, you have a sheet like this, and then you'll know what your top level terms are, right? And in this case, it appears that it's either going to be fence service or even fence contractor might be not only the top level topic, or excuse me, category, but also the top level topic term. It's possible. I've seen that before. Okay. So fence contractor might be the best term in its entirety, but then I would still use a variant, which would be like fence service, for example, as an H1. And so I'll give some examples of that. But one more that would be actually interesting to see that I hadn't even thought of before was this. Fence company. See what's bolded there, right? So I would put that in here as well, fence company, and then I would do the exact same process there. And see what else comes through here. Fence and railing. That's interesting. That popped up. I hadn't seen that before. Fence companies, fence contractor. That's synonymous with fence company. So maybe fence company actually has broader coverage. Does that make sense? I don't know. I haven't done this exercise with this in this industry yet, but I'm giving you the framework so that you can do it. If that makes sense. And then by the time you're done with this, guys, you've now got a list right here. You can see it plain as day, which keyword or phrase has the most topic coverage or the broadest keyword coverage. And it's clearly, in this case, tree maintenance. I don't know what it is here, but it appears that it's either going to be fence contractor, fence service, or fence company. It doesn't appear that this one has nearly as much coverage. So I just bring that up because I wanted to show you how I would start. And again, I would do topic term number 3, topic term number 4. I would go in and pull out the Wikipedia entities that are relevant to that, like fence and company, right? Companies, Wikipedia entity, all that kind of stuff. But then I would play around with it, figure out what has the broadest coverage. Once you've determined that then, and I just use this as a fence service as an example. I didn't know for sure because I had gone through this, but let's just say fence service was the best topic term. I don't know that it is, but let's just, in this case, say that it is. The service pages then, to kind of explain how I would do this, guys, what I found is that the service pages, you should have basically an individual page for each service that's optimized for that particular service. So if we go back to the fence page in Wikipedia, so let's go back over here. We can see, this is what I mean by looking at the Wikipedia pages to try to get an idea for how to structure the pages themselves. And also for internal linking, and also to look for related entities, which is the see alsos, etc. So from here, what I would look at is by function. You can see that, oops, sorry, I don't know what I just did. I must have clicked the link over here. Agricultural fencing, right, is one. Another one that I think would be quite common would be perimeter fencing. Another type would be maybe a pool fence, which I think could be modified for pool fencing, would probably still be relevant. In fact, if we actually click on this, doesn't it say somewhere? I thought it said somewhere that it was redirected from pool fencing. Let's take a look at perimeter fencing. Here it is. Perimeter fence. It's redirected from perimeter fencing. So that means those are synonymous. Perimeter fencing, perimeter fence. It doesn't really matter because Google understands that it's one or the other. Do you see that? So I would imagine pool fencing or pool fence or pool fencing, you could probably, pet fence might be another one that would be pretty common. But I imagine pool fencing would be relevant as well, as far as the service page. So what I would do, and I got to point something out. So each of these service pages then, which I would, if I was in the fence industry, and again, it would require some additional research and some testing for me to determine what the best structure of the site structure, not just page structure. We always start with page structure, but then the site structure is often dictated by the internal linking. Like, in other words, I start developing the page structure, and then I already know what my internal links are going to be from that page. And that helps me to develop what the site structure, the architecture of the site is going to be, which pages I need, etc. And so why I bring that up is because I would have service pages, again, based upon my very brief analysis of this industry. I would probably have service pages that are optimized by fence type, like fence use case, not fence type, but fence use case. So agricultural fencing, perimeter fencing, pool fence or pool fencing. And there are the Wikipedia entities that are specific to that particular type of fence. Okay. But then on each one of those pages, and we'll go look at the Wikipedia entity so that you can see, for example, agricultural fencing. If we go look at this, on that service page is where you could then reference the fence by type. So for example, fence styles is going to talk about wire fence, barbed wire, smooth wire, high tensile wire, right? So this gives you ideas as how to structure in which headings and subheadings to put in the service page so that you get all the topic coverage for agricultural fencing, right? Do you understand? That's what's important, is the service pages are optimized very thoroughly for the product or service. And then the location pages don't need to be content rich. The location pages need to be optimized for topics and categories and then link to the service pages. That's it. You don't need a bunch of content on the location pages, which is the other thing that I still see SEOs doing all the time. So the service pages I would have, like, again, let's go take a look at perimeter fencing, just to give you another example. This one has, I think, some more traditional kind of fence materials. So again, different types of perimeter fencing include timber fencing, palisade, chain link fencing. That's pretty common, right? If we go look at pool fence, different types, aluminum fence. And that has its own, it says aluminum there, but this is its own Wikipedia entity, aluminum fencing. You guys understand? So I'm just pointing out that, like, coming back to this, I would reference or do this type of a research, then start to build my structure by first identifying what my page structures are going to be like. So I would want to first determine what are the top level service pages that I'm going to create, and then how am I going to structure those pages? You should already know which locations you're going to target if you've done your location research properly. So then when you go to create the location pages, that's simple, because the location page is going to be optimized for the top level category, the specific city and state, or whatever, however the location entity is referenced in Wikipedia. Most of the time it's going to be city, state. Sometimes it's just city. And then brand. And then I would have as the H1, the top level topic term, whichever topic term we determined from this process here is the most relevant and has the broadest topic coverage, I mean. And so the broadest keyword coverage, essentially. And I don't know if that's fence service or fence contractor or fence company or whatever, but whatever that is, I would put here. Maybe America's top, or not America's, Auburn's top fence company. Maybe that's the better term. I don't know, because I don't know what the broadest coverage is, because I haven't fully completed that exercise. But if maybe that's the one. So then I would do Auburn's top fence company, right? And in an H2, it would reference one of the other terms that I discovered has fairly broad topic coverage. And then I would use that as an H2 heading that would say fence maintenance services, or, you know, the top fence services that we provide in Auburn, or something like that. It's some variation thereof that then has a variant of one of those terms in the heading tag. So remember, a heading is an H2. Page titles an H1. Their headings are H2s, and then subheadings are H3s, 4s, 5s, etc. And so then I would have an H3s that lists and links to all service pages. On each of the service pages, you're going to have an H2, a heading that states for whatever the specific service is, like pool fencing service area, perimeter fencing service area, agricultural fencing service area, within the H3s that lists and links to all location pages. And that's how I would go about building a site in the fence industry. Again, I don't know the exact configuration for this. I'm giving you the framework so that you can go out and discover this on your own. But now you've got the method for discovery, if that makes sense. And that's how I've been doing this, guys, for service area businesses, especially. I'm telling you, it works like crazy when you get it done right. You need less links, less content, etc. The location pages themselves need very little content. Where the content should be rich is on the service pages. And that's it. And so you only need to do that once. Think about how most people optimize, guys, still. they're going to have a fence contractor page that is going to have paragraph after paragraph describing each one of these things. And you end up getting hit with a 3,000 word article on a fucking page that's supposed to collect the contact information for somebody that needs a damn fence. Like, why? We don't need to do that stuff anymore. I know why we used to do it, but we don't need to do that anymore. And that's just, and by the way, I already know that people are going out and, well, Surfer SEO said that this location page needs to have 2,500 words of content, and it needs to have keyword density and entity density. I got to get 100% or 95 or 90 and above score, optimization score, according to Surfer SEO or Wikipedia, or excuse me, On Page AI or Page Optimizer Pro and all that. No, you don't. You don't need all that. You on your location pages, which is what you want to rank. You want to rank those. Those just need to be about satisfying the intent of the searcher, which is, who is the company? How do I contact them or request that they contact me? And if I want to know more about the products or services that they provide, where do I go on this site that can tell me more about those products and services? That's it. So it's basically a menu in the content body of the page that states these are the services we provide, as the heading states, and in the subheadings are the links that link and reference and link to the specific service pages where they can get very thorough information about that specific product or service. It's a much more efficient way to build, guys. You need less content, less pages. You'll need less links. It will perform better. Google is rewarding sites like this. Don't believe me? Here's one of my newer projects. It's an old project, but it has been revived recently for Louisville Felling Pro. Right here. When you get this stuff right, guys, it performs significantly better. The only keywords that are not performing in the top 5 or the top 10, all of my keywords are in the top 5, except for a total of 6 keywords that aren't in the top 5. And those are the Louisville keywords, because those are the very competitive metropolitan area. But all the other keywords are ranking incredibly well. Look at that. Like, and again, guys, there's not a lot of there. If you do a backlink analysis, you'll see a lot of links built for this, but most of them have been deleted. I think there's only because there originally, when I started testing with this site almost 2.5 years ago, I pointed citation vault links to this, which I don't recommend to ever do. So it's still got some that are showing up in backlink analysis tools, even though they've been deleted. But I only bring that up because this project is performing very, very well. Even in map search now, because there is a GBP associated with this now. And just with a little bit of link building, because of this structure, proper link building, not the citation vault links that I was just describing, have been completely removed, although they're still appearing on, a lot of them are appearing in the backlink profile analysis. So it's a damn flush. But proper links. So I started building semantic links to this. So links with topical and geographic relevance. And then I started applying some local Fury engagement signals. And this project right here has jumped significantly in just the last month. And I'll demonstrate that very quickly. And then we'll move on to the next topic for today's discussion, which I know we're going to run over. Forgive me for that, guys, but give me 1 second. I think this training is important, guys, so that you guys can see how to apply this type of a strategy to your projects. I think that's really important. All right, so here's what I'm going to share. Okay. So I just want you guys to see this, right? It's about structure, guys. I was not doing link building to this project at all. I went again. If you go do a backlink analysis, you'll see there's probably hundreds of links pointing to this, but most of like 95% of them are deleted. Currently, like I actually have the current competitive link analysis. The actual valid links that are pointing to like the location landing page, for example, it's only 8. The homepage URL actually only has 7 links built to it. That's here, Louisville Felling Pro. It's only got 7 links built to it. So I want you guys to see that what I'm why I'm describing this, and I'm about to show you what can happen when you get this stuff right. It's so that you guys, it hopefully encourages you to go out and actually attempt to do what I'm recommending. Because again, even in my own mastermind, I see time and time again, people say, man, I'm still not getting results. Can you look at this? And I look at it, and it's all the stuff that I'm telling people not to do is still being done. And I don't ask anybody to believe me. I just ask you to test. Go set up a test site if you don't believe me, and try it and see what happens. And so coming back here, if we look at the local search grid, guys, I want you guys to see this. This is an 11 by 11 grid with half-mile spacing. the keywords that we're looking at here are the top level, the 5 keywords, the primary keywords without even location modifiers, those 5 keywords there. And so on the beginning of this month was when I started link building to this with proper links about 2 months ago. It was at the beginning of June. In fact, you can even see that in here. Just again, I just want to be transparent, guys. You can see the link building campaign. This is the link workbook. This is what I provide for all of my link building clients, including myself. And so we started link building in June for this project. And it's on a $299 plan. That's the low to medium competition. That's the lowest subscription level we have. We started building links in June. And at the same, well, about 2 weeks before that, we started sending local Fury signals to this project. So that's all that has been done for this project. This project's been around for 2.5 years, but it was just a test site that I didn't do link building to. Other than, like I said, spammy citation vault links, which have a purpose, they're server purpose, but don't link to your money site with those. So look at the progress here for that keyword tree service on July 2nd, excuse me. So about 30 days ago. On the 24th of July, it had jumped from an average of 16.8 to an average of 5.9. And then a week later, it refreshed to an average of 5.5 for the primary keyword without location modifier, guys. Look at that, right? That's from proper structure, so proper on page, a few relevant links, and some proper signals. That's it. That nothing else, guys. This has been a project that again, test site, I let sit for 2 years because it was really just, and by the way, just to be clear, guys, this site is still very poorly optimized because this was one of my very first test sites when I started testing with this type of a structure and topic and category optimization and all of that. And I've demonstrated this before, but look how poorly optimized this site is, because this is one of the first templates that I used before I had gone through and properly optimized all the HTML elements of every page. So this has egregious on-page technical SEO errors. And yet look at the performance gains, guys, because it has proper page structure. Well, to a degree, in all reality, it has poor page structure, but it has proper optimization of the SEO title. And then the overall site structure is sound and the internal linking is sound. When I have some more time, which I want to do, I'm going to fix this site to be up to date, my current site template standards, which is properly optimized. So this site, although even though it has some significant technical SEO errors on the page structure side of things, it is still performing incredibly well. So just take a look at all these keywords, guys. We'll look at tree removal. Again, 17.4 average a month ago. A week ago, it jumped to 4.4. Now it's at 3.6. You guys think this works or not? I'm telling you, it does. And by the way, that's what I'm trying to recommend you guys. Like, for example, I mentioned Local Fury, because Local Fury, we are applying signals to this, but we didn't apply any signals to this project until after those other 4 main elements were proper and correct, which is what we have been telling people since day one, guys. Do you understand that there are 4 components that should be done and done well before you start applying CTR signals or engagement signals to any project? Because if you have the 4 foundational elements done properly, then it won't take very many signals at all to produce results. It's when you don't have those other elements in place, and then you expect, if you have a deficiency in any, there's really kind of 5 layers, guys. There's really 4 components. The last component contains basically 2 elements to it, okay? So there's entity analysis. If you have an ambiguated or polluted entity, the project is going to be at a disadvantage at all times, no matter what else you do. You can't overcorrect entity ambiguation or pollution with on page or you can't correct any one of these elements by overdoing it on another component, if that makes sense. It's important to have all of these things done at least to a fairly decent level. And so there's always entity analysis first is what I recommend, because if you have a polluted or ambiguated entity, it's going to require so much of everything else in order to try to overcome that. But it's very difficult to do. And so always make sure the entity is well established and has a good understanding of who the business is, what they do, and where they do it. And you can do that through schema, branded entity assets that are interlinked and referenced properly, ID pages. All of that stuff can help to disambiguate, depollute, build strength and authority to a local entity so that you can make the entity in itself strong and well established and well recognized by Google. Next is on-page optimization for the self-hosted site. I've talked about this before, guys, but I see more of a correlation between how the self-hosted site is optimized and how the GBP performs in map search now than I have in any time in my career. 15 years I've been doing local SEO, and I've never seen so much of a correlation between how the GBP performs in map search and on-page optimization for the self-hosted site. So that's why that's number 2. Number 3 is GBP optimization, the on-page optimization for the GBP. Do that right. Don't take shortcuts there. I see it all the time. I see GBPs that have, it might have a business description and the category selected, but they're not doing posts. They're not replying to reviews. They're not getting reviews. They don't have services and or optimized services. They don't have products. They're not doing posts regularly and linking to branded and supporting assets and pages on the site. I see it all the time. And yet they expect one element, either links or signals or something, to overcorrect deficiencies or to correct deficiencies. It doesn't work that way. You got to have all of these pieces in place, at least to a fairly decent level. They don't have to be perfect. They just have to be done fairly well. That's it. If you get these things done properly, then the last component is the off-page signals. And that consists of 2 elements, backlinks and engagement signals. And so why I bring that up is because I'm trying to show you guys the type of results that you can get if you just do these things properly. And that's the problem that I've seen is people come to me for links and they've got terrible on-page and over-optimization and redundancy and duplication and all this stuff. And then they expect the links to perform miracles. It doesn't work that way. Same thing with engagement signals. Those of you that don't have really any significant gains from CTR, look at these other elements first. Guys, look at the other elements. You can't fix poor on-page or deficiencies in any one of these components or elements with overdoing it with CTR. It's at least not manipulated signals. Maybe if you're getting real social engineered signals from offline marketing and advertising that's validated traffic signals, that might overcorrect for on-page and bad backlinks and over-optimization and all that kind of stuff. But for most of you that are using search CTR bots and apps and all that kind of stuff, guys, if you're not getting the results that you're expecting or that you desire, look at these other 4 elements first. Entity, on-page for self-hosted site and GBP, and backlinks. All of those should be proper, at least to a fairly decent level, and then start sending signals. And when you do it right, these are the types of jumps that you can see. Like, again, we'll look at Arborist. Look at Arborist, 12.8 to 1.9 to, drop for whatever reason to 2.9. I don't care. I'm okay with this. This is in 1 month, guys. And there's no black magic going on here. It's exactly what I've been teaching. Proper structure, which this one still has significant errors on, and yet it's still performing. Proper links. Look at the link building in this here, guys. That's the wrong workbook. The links, guys, these are all, I'll demonstrate this just to, we're going to go way over. I'm not going to get to any other questions today. Sorry, but I think this is important. So I'm going to share this with you. Let me go to link relevancy, load, this one here. Yeah, restore. Look at the links, guys, that I provide. My links are relevant, and that has an influence when the other components are done properly. You use proper links, and then you only need a handful of them. Again, look at the quantities here, guys. Tree service loop. Now, that particular keyword's not performing well yet, but all the other keywords, well, it is in maps, it's doing fairly well in its local area. The keywords in organic search for local search, and by the way, I didn't bring that up, but let's go look at the organic rank tracker. Look at these keyword coverage, guys. Look at this. You guys see this? These are all the keywords now that, again, the Louisville keywords are not performing all that well. But look, in this case, it's saying in local finder, at least from the Shively zip code. This zip code is Shively area of Louisville. It is actually popping for Louisville keywords, and I didn't know that. That's interesting. So it's popping. I mean, look at these jumps, guys. You see that? Like, I hope you guys get excited about this. I do, but I try to teach this all the time, and it's like it's being ignored. And again, guys, I'm not saying go out to all your clients and just do all this stuff to all your client sites. I'm saying whatever industry you're in or industries that you're in, I recommend you select one and just try it in one industry. Build a test site. That's it. Build a test site, start applying these principles, see what happens, because then it will convince you that is what I'm saying is valid. And then you can start to apply it once you've proven to yourself that you can start to apply that to your client sites so that you don't need as much content. You don't need as many pages. You don't need as many links, guys. The links here is very, very few. And you see the results that I'm getting, right? This is undeniable. And it's a combination of all those elements and then sending the proper signals after those elements are done fairly well. That's it. So hopefully that was clear. And I know I killed that, that the entire hour with one question, but I think that's important. So I'll see if there's any comments on that, and I'm going to jump back to questions and try to roll through at least a handful of them. I can go about 10 minutes over if needed. Andrew, Scut. God damn it. I screwed it up again, Andrew. I'm terrible with names. It's Scut. I remember you said that last week. So hopefully I got it right that time. Ryan says, so if we do auto insurance and home insurance pages for a location, we need a main insurance page for that location. Yeah, I would again, I don't have time to get into going into the topic and category research for insurance right now, guys. I can't do it. We got to get to other questions. But what I would do is look at, is it insurance agent, insurance company, insurance broker? I don't know which. You'd have to go play around exactly what I just described here. I would do that's insurance agency, insurance broker, insurance company, whatever. I would add those types up there, and I would try to go through and figure out what the top level topic terms are, because an insurance agency can probably do or I would think again, I'm not in that industry, but my assumption is an insurance agency can provide both residential, commercial, business insurance, auto insurance, all of that kind of stuff. So you got to figure out what the top level topic and category terms are, and then the location pages are optimized for that. You can have a separate page for home insurance, a separate page for auto insurance, a separate page for business insurance. All of those things, that's fine. Those are product or service pages. But the location pages should be optimized for top level topics and categories so that you only need one location page for each city that you want to target. That's the point. It's eliminating all that redundancy and saying the same thing over and over and over again across dozens of pages that Google frowns upon significantly now. It is hurting the performance of sites and local search. I promise you that. 100% promise you that those types of site builds are hurting the performance of those sites. And that's because Google is much better now about rewarding sites that are efficient. And so this is a much more efficient way to optimize, as I've been demonstrating today. And for the last 2 years, really. So hopefully that's clear. All right, I got to jump into these other questions, guys. Like I said, I'm going to go over a little bit. I hope you guys are all right with that. Next question was from John with the Google URL shortener, sunsetting. Do you have any alternatives? No, other than I just use, there's two types of redirect shorteners that I use. I've talked about this many, many times. For TreeCare HQ, I have one that's tchq.link. And all that is a WordPress installation with Pretty Links Pro as a WordPress plugin that creates short links on that domain, which is, I use that for all TreeCare HQ link shorteners. For SM Short Link, we have smshort.link. Yeah, I don't want to go to, sorry, this one. I'm going to go to the, which is funny. If you go visit this if you're not logged in, and so this is it. It's Pretty Links Pro right here is what I use, Pretty Links Pro. So we create all of our short links on these so that you can have your own custom domain. You could do it with some other link shorteners too, but I love that. Keep scrolling, motherfucker. But anyways, SM Short Link for anything that's not an actual redirect URL, it just redirects to here. But you see SM Short Link, I have tchq.link, whatever. So Pretty Links Pro is a WordPress plugin. That's something that I like to do because then you build authority to your own domain. But another one that you could do as you build links to shorten to links. I mean, another one is I use Sniply. So this is the other service that I use. And I do that for like QR codes and stuff like that. But that's it. They're a dime a dozen. Man, you can go to AppSumo. Just be careful buying link shorteners from AppSumo, because what happens is if the company goes out of business, which happens fairly often, then all your link shorteners are going to be outdated and broken. Ask me how I know. So don't do that. If you're going to be using one of these types of services instead of a WordPress plugin, make sure you're subscribing to a service that has a monthly fee or an annual fee so that you know that it's going to be continued to be supported. The lifetime deals for link shorteners are bad news. Don't do it, because at some point, if the company goes out of business, which is likely, you're going to lose all those short links. So I would encourage you, don't do that. And again, ask me how I know. So hopefully that answers the question. The next question then is, James says, I started using blog posts for location pages. Main reason for doing this is the backlinks from the syndication network. The service related info is the same in each post except for the location modifier. There is unique content for the suburb profile and local suburb content embeds in each post. Am I creating any advantage using posts instead of pages for locations? Yeah, sure. I've got no problem with that. I think that's perfectly fine. It's just a different taxonomy. Like the internal linking on kind of like the back end of WordPress is different. I think actually using posts gives you some advantages because you have a separate RSS feed for that. If you place those posts into categories, then you have category RSS feeds. You can also create tags and add those to posts, and you can do some pretty interesting things with tags too. I'm not going to get into that today, but then tags have their own RSS feeds too. So you can actually syndicate content from particular categories or particular tags. So there is benefits to doing posts over pages, in my opinion. So yeah, I think what you're doing there is fine. Okay. All right, so he says, hey, Bradley, currently I have a client whose homepage isn't optimized for the brand, but their main search keyword. They get a substantial amount of traffic to the homepage for those terms. What would be your tips for optimizing the homepage for the brand? And what structure would you follow? Yeah, it's the same structure that I talk about in my audits, which is this, right? If we go up to the page structure section here, right there, guys, take a screenshot, right? So again, recommended title format for each page is right there. So for now, Heath, for your question, I'm always concerned about recommending changing something that is currently working, even if it doesn't fit what I'm recommending is the best kind of way to optimize right now for local search. Because if it's already performing and you start messing with it, you could lose that performance. Yeah, it's likely going to come back, but there's going to definitely be a period of time where things, you could lose significant traffic and leads, etc. So I do want to just caution everybody, if you have something that is performing well already, don't go messing with it until it's needed to mess with, right? But here's exactly how I recommend optimizing SEO titles. Remember, that's the document title, guys. And so that's exactly the format. So the homepage, I always recommend optimize for the brand first, then a broad description of the products and or services that the company provides. And then a broad description or the geographic entity that contains all of the service area locations or all the locations within the service area. Does that make sense? So that's sometimes going to be a county. Sometimes it might be a single city. If it's like a dentist office, then all they serve is their local area. Then it might the city could be optimized on the homepage. That's fine. But for service area businesses, like I know what Heath works with is very similar industry to me. I would optimize for the broadest location entity. It's sometimes going to be a county. That's how I optimize for these what I call LLG sites, local lead gen sites. This is optimized for Jefferson County, Kentucky, because each one of these locations are contained within Jefferson County. But sometimes it might be a region, right? So like, for example, in Virginia, we have let's just say Leesburg, Virginia is in Loudoun County, Virginia. Loudoun County, Virginia is in a region known as Northern Virginia, and that has its own Wikipedia entity. So if I was going to develop a site for a tree service contractor located in Leesburg on the homepage, if they have a broad service area that goes outside of Loudoun County, then I might say, Bradley's tree service or Bradley's tree care or whatever I named the in this case, let's just say Felling Pro, right? Loudoun Felling Pro or Nova Felling Pro. There you go. Northern Virginia, the abbreviation for that, which is also in the Wikipedia entity, is Nova, N-O-V-A. So I might say Nova Felling Pro, and then have the GBP might be located in Leesburg, but then I would have supporting service area or location pages that would be for each of the bigger cities within that region that they serve. If that makes sense. So it's always about the homepage should be optimized for the broadest terms that describe who the business is, what they do, and where they do that, and where they do it, and that's referenced right there. Hopefully that's clear. But again, I caution messing with something that is already performing. I'm talking about if you've got new sites that you're building or new clients that aren't performing well, apply what I'm talking about. But if you have something that's already working for a particular project, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I mean? So hopefully that's clear. I'm going to move on to the next question, guys. I do want to try to get through a couple more of these before I wrap up for the day. And again, I apologize for going so long on that first one, guys, but I think it's really important. I'm hoping that eventually some of this stuff will sink in, guys. I mean it. Lewis says, hey, Bradley, what's going on? A tree service lead gen of mine started generating consistent leads last week after 1 year of setting it up. Now it's generating at least one legit tree service lead per day. That's outstanding. Since I'm fairly new to the tree service niche, I wonder how much I should be charging a business owner for my leads as far as a weekly or monthly flat fee goes. That's a good question. I don't really do it that way anymore. Like that's like rank and rent. I don't really do. I mean, I do rank and rent, but I do that with LOG sites, and I only charge $99 a month to rent those sites. No kidding. It's not a joke, and it's just because those sites are so easy to build and they rank so well that it's just like there's no sense in me charging a lot for that. I use it as a deal sweetener to get the retainer based clients. Like understand that's why I call it the directory hybrid agency. The hybrid part of that is because I do a combination of lead gen and retainer based services now for everybody. And so I like to build LLG sites or local lead gen sites. And then when they're ranking, then I approach companies in that area and then say, listen, I've got this site that's ranking. So I know how to get results in your area. I'm outranking you for your own products and services. Are you interested in having a chat and how I can help you to do the same? And then when I get on a call with them, I might offer to assign that LLG site to them if they hire me with traditional retainer-based services to do SEO for them as well. That makes sense. Or just rent them that site. Again, I don't charge any more for it than now just $100 a month for the site because I want to make it up in volume and not try to hammer the one contractor or company over the head with pricing for that. I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm just saying that's what I do. Okay. So I don't do rank and rent sites where I try to charge for what the value of that particular site is. I don't really care. And now if you've got a GBP, that's different. I'm talking about just an organic asset only. If you've got a verified GBP that's generating leads, then yeah, you can rent that out on a flat fee, but I recommend doing on a pay per lead basis instead. I think that's a better way to do it. And so, like, for example, it varies wildly for me as to what I charge on a pay per lead basis. In Northern Virginia, I can't charge anything less than $100 a lead now because it's the cost to generate those leads is so high. But like in Louisville, I only charge $65 per generated lead because it's less expensive to generate leads there. So I base that kind of on cost per click values in Google Ads and also what it costs me to generate the lead too. Because I will usually, if I'm going into a new area to try to sell leads first, I will usually set up a Google Ads campaign to try to determine what my average CPA is for generating leads with Google Ads. And then I use that data in pitching what I'm selling my leads for, which is usually less than what it costs to generate it via Google Ads. That's my unique selling proposition is, hey, look, if you were to go to Google Ads and pay for these leads, this is what your average CPA would be. I charge less than that. So would you be willing, are you interested in working with me? That's what I do. So, and again, I'm just stating like, it varies. I don't have kind of a blanket fee for, I don't do rank and rent except for the LLG sites, which are organic only assets. Everything else is either pay per lead or it's revenue share, which is how I've monetized most of my best tree service lead gen sites or TVPs have been the revenue share model, which is where I charge 10% of whatever the contract price is for the jobs that they close. That's it. I don't get paid for leads that don't close. I only get paid for leads that generate revenue for the business, but I get 10% of whatever the contract price is. And I prefer that over any model when it comes to lead gen. But you have to have a level of trust with that contractor, and you can trust them, but you also have to verify if they're lying to you. Because I've had a number of tree service contractors over the years that were lying to me and telling me that they weren't closing jobs that they indeed were. And I always thought that was the dumbest thing in the world. That's like killing the goose that lays the golden egg. If you're only paying for leads that have generated revenue for your business, why the hell would you lie about it? Try to cheat the lead generator out of what's due to them. Because then once you get caught, you've just dried up your lead source. But tree guys aren't the most, the smartest bunch, not to paint with such a broad brush, but they're not usually the most sophisticated bunch. And so if they think they can get a free tree service job out of it by lying to me, and then that kills any additional leads that they're ever going to get from me, some of them think that's a fair deal. I don't understand it, but it is what it is. So anyways, I got to move on. I'm sorry. I hope that's helpful, Lewis. It's just like I said, I don't charge. The only time I do flat rank and rent is just for the LLG assets, which are just organic assets only. And I will either rent it at just $100 a month fee, or I will assign that to a company if they hire me for larger retainer-based services. That's clear. I like pay per lead or revenue share model much better than rank and rent. Unless, like I said, it's the LLG sites, because those are so easy to duplicate, deploy, and then if you do your competition and keyword and location research properly, a lot of those sites are going to rank with damn near no backlinks at all and no additional maintenance, especially if they're on high level instead of WordPress. I don't have to log in any of my LLG sites and update them. I don't have WordPress updates. I don't really have to worry about hacking. None of that. That's why I love that model, because it's scalable. Just produce those sites at scale. A percentage of them are going to rank with no additional work whatsoever. And those are your starting points. Those are the areas that you target first for prospecting to land clients. And you have something you can point to as results in advance. Like, hey, I've already outranking you in your own area for your own services. Are you interested in working with me? I can do it for you too. And that's the lead in, that's the hook. And then you can assign that site to them if they hire you for doing SEO for them and their brand. Or you can just assign them that site for $100. I do it on for $100 a month. That makes sense. Some of you are probably like, $100 a month. Okay. How many of you gone out and tried to do rank and rent for, a lot of the rank and rent gurus out there tell you can do $500, $1,000, $1,500 a month. Maybe some of you have been successful with that. I found it very difficult to do. Very difficult. But $100 a month site, that's much easier to sell. And if you're building sites that require no maintenance and very few backlinks or off-page SEO at all, very, very little at all, if at all, then why not just do it at scale and volume? Make it up in volume instead of, taking a year. And I'm not picking on you, by the way. Instead of taking a year for one site to start performing before you can monetize it, why not build, 50 sites in the next year, one a week for the next year, and you got 50 sites, and 30 or 40% of them, if you do your competition research properly, are going to be ranking with no additional work or maintenance required. And now you've got those that you can go out and use to pitch your services to those companies in that area, right? And you can land retainer-based clients, and you've got your lead gen line. That's how you start to build a business much quicker and faster without having to wait a year to monetize it, in my opinion. Again, I'm not picking on you. I'm just stating how I've been developing my business recently. Okay. All right, guys. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get to any other questions, just because I'm going to hide these, and then I'm going to highlight the other ones for next week as well. So Roy, with your land flipping question, I apologize if you, there it is. Roy, if you reach out to me privately somehow, I'll try to answer your question for you. Outside of today's Hump Day Hangout, I'd love to answer that question for you. I just don't have time today. Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to check on comments, and I'm going to wrap it up for the day. I said, actually, maybe I just test the one location page for the city. And then so this is the auto insurance question. Actually, maybe I would just test the one location page for the city and then link to the main city auto and home insurance pages. But I wanted strong, high converting landing pages. Okay. Well, again, like that, conversion rate optimization is completely different than SEO, but that's why I think the location pages that the more kind of, I've talked about before, I've started reducing the content on location pages to just the bare, literally just headings and images. That's it. No content is needed. I'm going to go way over. Here's an example, guys. All right. I pointed this out before, but Bucket and Felling Pro, this is a very low competition area. I'm not here to tout the flex my muscles and look, I rank this. No, this is a very low competition area, but this shows how well the structure works. Guys, there's one backlink pointed to this site. One. It's from my directory site, DreeCare HQ. One backlink. And we have 96 out of 96 keywords in the top 3. It's a very low competition area, so that's part of the reason. But look at this, guys. It's straight ones, and it's purely from structure, proper on page. That's it. Okay. So if you take a look at this site, though, this is before I started testing with removing content from location pages. So if we go take a look at this page, for example, look at the content on this page. It's not a lot, but it's a few hundred words, right? There's this section. Oops, sorry. Close that down. There's some, content at the top of the page. And then there's some content here that is referencing some of those services, just kind of a sentence or two about each one of these services here. And then I have three to 5 FAQs on each one of these location pages. Okay, great. So what? All right. Well, I took that exact same site template for the exact same keywords, the same amount of pages, the same structure, the same headings, the same subheadings, the same images, everything. but then I stripped all the content out of the pages, except for the headings and images. Look at the results. That's this one here. You guys see this? 35 out of 46 keywords in the top three, 45. This has 0 backlinks, and it's also a newer site. The other one that we were just looking at, I built it February. This one I built on June 21st, I think is when I deployed this site. And then I submitted it for indexing and put it into the rank tracker on June 22nd. And so this site has 0 backlinks, and it's not as this site is not aged as much, right? It doesn't have as much time as the previous site. But look at the rankings here, guys, right? And we'll go take a look at the site just so you can, and by the way, why is it number 2 and not number 1? Because the other site's number 1. That's the only reason it's not number 1. It's because the other site that's a little bit aged more and has 1 backlink pointing to it and a little bit more content too. But let's just go take a look at this site so that you guys can see it. You'll see what I mean. It's the exact same site. All I did was clone it, install it onto another domain, and then I stripped the content. The homepage has some content, but let's look at that Grundy page. The only content on this page besides heading and images is this opening paragraph, which is like 2 sentences, and that's it. The rest of the page is blank, guys. It's just headings and images. There is no other content on this page. This page is the same page, but with content, right? And again, look at the results. So the reason I brought that up was because the question was, or the comment was, trying to optimize for conversions. The location pages I found don't need all the content when done right. And so the service pages should be optimized for the, thorough descriptions of the service and sub-services that are relevant to that particular service, etc. But the location pages should really be about, it's like a navigational page. It should be about who is the business, how do I contact them or request that they contact me, and what products or services are provided at this location. And if I want more information about them, where do I go? So essentially just what I'm showing you here. These are the services available here. There is no description of these services at all on this page. And yet, if we come over here and look at this, this is the Grundy page. We'll go ahead and put Grundy in here. Look at the rankings. You guys see that for a site that is younger with no backlinks at all. And there's the rankings for that page with no content. And so why I bring that up is because for conversion rate optimization for a location page, it should really be about who is the company, how do you contact them, what services do they provide, and how do I get more information about those services, which is an internal link to those specific pages. That's it. Then you can play around with heat map software or whatever they call it to determine when people land on this page, what are they doing? Where are they scrolling? What are they clicking to? You can determine all that, start to optimize the elements of this page, this very basic page, to be to convert better, essentially. And that's what I would do. Okay. Hopefully that's clear. Leads for local SEO client. I'm sorry. I'm not even going to attempt to say your name, dude. Sorry, I don't have time for that. We're way over. But if you post that question in the Hump Day Hangouts form for next week, I'll try to answer that. How to generate leads for local SEO client. But one of the ways is what I just described. Build local lead gen sites, organic assets only. Once they start to perform, then you contact companies in that area and point to that. I've already got results for your products and services in your area. I'm outranking you. Would you like to have a chat about how I can help you? That is one of the fastest ways you can generate leads. I have a whole program in the mastermind for specifically doing just that. But if you want to post that question later, for next week, I'll try to answer it then. Okay, guys, I got to go. Sorry about the long Hump Day Hangout today. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys next week.